Welcome everyone. Happy 108th anniversary to us, to our club. We're going to get started with our meeting today. We want to first, everyone, to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by America, the first verse, and the blessing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
Lord of the universe,
Rotarians worldwide, acknowledge your power and expectation that we be of service to mankind. Accept our thanks for this day and all its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. We ask that you guide and direct our club, its leaders, and our actions. Grant that each of us may feel the responsibility to Rotary, to our community, to our country, and to the world.
Bless our fellowship today,
and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies, and us to your service. Amen.
thank you. You may be seated. Brenda, are you doing? Brenda's going to come around with the Happy Cup, and I am just going to make a few announcements. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Crystal Moore Clemens, and I have the honor of serving as president here at club, of the lunch club. So we're coming around with the Happy Cup. If you'd like to share why you're happy, and as you know, the funds from the Happy Cup go to Polio Plus. So thank you for helping us support our goals to eradicate polio. Thank you.
Well, I am happy graduation season is over. I graduate on Saturday at Virginia State, and I graduate on Monday at Thomas Dale.
I was at work during Christmas, and I saw Marco on one side of the NPC, and then he ran over and got to the other side of the NPC, and he had a beautiful VSU embroidered cardigan on.
It was hot, but I was repping my VSU. I walked in 6 months ago. Before one of four daughters graduated from my alma mater, I had to represent.
Yes. That is a blessing.
Yes.
So I've just prepared a few brief remarks just to kind of give an overview of our extensive history, and then I will bring up our speaker. So as you know, the Petersburg Breakfast Club is continuing the magic of Rotary 108 years later. We're excited to have Joy Klein in the building as our speaker today. Let's give it up for Joy. Our awesome district governor. We also have the Breakfast Club in the building, and let's clap those. And we also have both of our Impact Clubs in the building. Let's shout out to our Impact Club. So thank you all so much. So we know that the Petersburg Club was sponsored under the leadership of the Richmond Club in March of 1917. Initially, there were 15 members, and 2 months later, on May 28, 1917, the actual organization and the charter night was held. The first president was Wallace D. Banks. I do want to give some shout outs to some of our longest standing members. Although they're not able to attend meetings all the time, we still honor and recognize them. So we have Jerry Fauntleroy Germain with 32 years. Gwen Carter with 37 years. And before our beloved P.T. Taylor passed away, he had 41 years.
Wow.
And two of our longest standing members are here in the building. Shout out to Al Bigley, 47 years. 100% participation. And attendance.
I used to go to Sunday school too.
And last but certainly not least, we have Jimbo Van Landingham, 48 years. Fun fact, Gwen was our second female club member in 1988. So we really honor Gwen. And Al has maintained perfect attendance, as I mentioned, since February of 1978. So thank you, Al.
Wow.
Under the Petersburg Club, we've been able to sponsor 5 new clubs: Hopewell, Blackstone, South Hill, Emporia, Colonial Heights, and the Breakfast Club. So, congratulations. We have given out over 208 scholarships in the amount of over $240,000. And most recently, Brenda, myself, Craig, and Kyle were able to present scholarships to students at the Appomattox Governor School, the Matoka High School, the Petersburg High School, and Colonial Heights High School. So thank you all for your service. And those are just some fun facts. And we're leading the district in our Impact Club development. So I want to just say thank you all so much for being open to being innovative and doing the Impact Clubs the way that we have been doing them. So thank you all. All right, so now without further ado, I get the privilege of reading Joy's bio. Joy Klein is a member of the Rotary Club of Goochland and a retired banker after a 44-year career with her last stop at Village Bank, a community bank located in Midlothian, Virginia, where she served as Executive Vice President of Retail Banking. She attended Virginia Commonwealth University, go Rams, and graduated from the Virginia Bankers Association School of Bank Management held at the University of Virginia. Joy was nominated by her club and honored as one of the Volunteers of the Year in 2011 by the Goochland Chamber of Commerce. In 2020, Joy was selected with 43 others, building a better region as Bold Women of Richmond. Joy first joined the board of the club as a sergeant-at-arms, followed by club secretary, and served as the president from 2012 to 2013. She's led as assistant governor for Area 2. She's served on District Rotary Foundation committees as every Rotarian and every year chair, followed by the annual fund and the development chair positions. Outside of Rotary, Joy has served as the Goochland Christmas Mother in 2020, President 2021, 2023, and is currently the treasurer. Joy loves digging in the dirt and expanding her flower and vegetable garden, and plans to become a master gardener while growing Rotary. Joy would like to encourage every Rotarian to find the joy in Rotary, particularly during 2024-2025 year. So without further ado, District Governor Joy Klein.
Thank you. So sweet of you.
We're so happy to have you.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You know, when Crystal asked me if I could be here, I went, well, wasn't it a year ago I was
Well,
That's
listen.
right.
So, it was kind of fun to go back and look at my notes from a year ago and think, oh, how have we as a club here and in the district, how far have we come? So it's kind of interesting to hear some of those facts stated again, which made me want to go back and reference a couple more facts about this club. Because one of the things, and since you've got a couple of new members, 1917 was when World War I was in progress. So, there's something that not many clubs will probably be informed at that time. And I didn't bring with me today, but do some of y'all remember me talking about the Smallage book last year? All right, so what the heck are they? So for $1, and I reference this because y'all help sell these. So there was this book that had 20 tickets in it, and they were sold for $1 back in those days. And you could also purchase a book for $3. There was 100 tickets. So folks would buy these books and then give them to the soldiers. And what they would do, they would exchange those at what was then Camp Lee, now Greg's Adams, to do things like entertainment. So they could go to the movies, or maybe go to the Y for one of these tickets. So they would just pull out those little tickets, kind of like green stamps, I guess, kind of thing. But your club was involved with that quite a bit back then in selling those. So they were called Smallage books. And then you helped with the maintenance of a milk and shoe fund for children in schools. YMCA, very big for you guys, and I had an opportunity to go over to the Y last week for Petersburg breakfast, and it was really cool just to see that building because I had not been in that building. I sat on the Y board for a number of years, so I got a chance to see different locations, but this one I had not. So that was pretty cool. You provided Y facilities to members of the local police boys club, and as Crystal said, you've been a part of other clubs being formed. Some clubs have never helped to form another club, and others have maybe done one, but for y'all to have several, that speaks a lot for you guys, so thank you for doing that. Besides scholarships to students over the years, we support the Rotary Foundation, which I'll talk a little bit more on that. You've been involved with a fair number of district grants over the years, and one of the things that I think was a lot of fun back a little while ago was the whole Tutu Desk project, and how the church God helped to support pulling that together, and you were able to raise, Betty, tell me if this number is wrong, about $4,000? Yes. And that equated to about 200 desks that were being used for students over in Africa to be able to write on. So maybe a visual on that would be they're probably about the size of this, and so the students there would have to just kind of sit in the dirt, or floor to do their work. And so these desks could sit on their lap in order for them to be able to write. It had a lot of information on it, like the alphabet and numbers and some other information that helped them with their studies. So your support of that really was very meaningful. You've done everything from Salvation Army, bell ringing, to Brunswick Stew fundraising, and we really appreciate it. And the fact that you've got members that have had perfect attendance for the years that Crystal talked about is very supportive. So we talked about this year being our annual theme of the magic of Rotary. Stephanie Yurchek, our international president, went went through the motions of saying, hey, you know, we want to do the magic of Rotary because of the story associated that many of you have heard of her trip down to the Dominican Republic. And while she was there, they were doing water filters for some of the villages and houses. And it happened to be that she was a part of the team that was there to do those installations. And while they were doing that, they saw this opportunity to share with some of the children. And so what was going through the process of testing is that you take water that was very dirty, and it was going through a testing process, and it comes out on the other side as clean water. And one of these little boys came up to Stephanie and yanked on her arm and said, lady, show me the magic again. And it was so impactful because he was not used to seeing clean water. And so this whole idea of dirty to clean water is something we probably take for granted a lot of times. And yet for them, you know, this was a whole new world for them. So we've been working through the magic of Rotary, and then we have our little internal district of Find Joy in the Journey. That was just something kind of fun to do, and we've had a bit of activity surrounding that. So I thought I would take a little bit of time to talk about the opportunity with what have we done this year as a district and how you come into play with that. So some tangible results. Membership has been a key driver for this year. We have looked at a number of ways to improve on that. And you may have recalled back when I spoke last fall on my visit that when we went into the coming year, immediate past District Governor Rudy Garcia was really hoping we were going to hit over the goal line. About 5 or 6 years ago, we had district membership results that equated to about a negative 150. Then a few years ago, it got to about a negative 50, and then we thought we were going to kick it over the line. Well, June 30th comes, and we ended up with a negative 9 for the year. Well, in the meantime, Stephanie has given the district governors a goal to reach this year. And she says to all the DGEs at that time, she says, I would like for each district to grow by a growth of 4 clubs and a net 100. Now, what did I just tell you? One, we hadn't done any new clubs in our district in quite some time. And again, we ended up the end of June at a negative 9. And now she wants us to get to a positive 100. You know, how are we going to do this? So I reached out to our membership chair for the district, Tracy, and I said, she wants us to get 4 clubs. She wants us to get 100 net gain. How are we going to do this? And he says, we are. And let me tell you, there has been a lot of support around how to get us to that point. And just think about what this club has done to get there. Now I'm going to single out Betty again because it was last fall when we were at our district conference that we held a membership summit. And we were talking about innovation and how do we look at different ways to challenge ourselves on new clubs. And Betty came back from that and reached out to me and said, hey, I think we have a way that we can do this. We're very involved, as you know she is, with the Church of God, and there's a lot of opportunity for the members to have already worked with different projects that you guys do. So, long story short, you know, we moved through the process. It's taken a little back and forth on how to get the naming done, but I was delighted to be there on that Sunday to be a part of your service. And then, of course, the application went in, and I'm very grateful that one of the 4 clubs belongs to this club. So congratulations to Crystal and team for pulling that together. So when I said 4, you know, that would leave 3, right? Well, officially, and I've got to update this formed 4 new clubs, with you being one of them, Warwick, Hampton Roads, and Norfolk, and Petersburg. And then today, Petersburg Breakfast got their nod, and so congratulations. We have additional applications in with Innsbruck, Newport News, Churchland, and Richmond, so they're in process. Guys, if you add all that up, we're at 9. We're at a goal of 4. So we're really excited about that. Yes. So then we've got the 100 number, and with these new clubs coming into play, that really has helped us to get where we want to go. And as of this week, our district is at a net gain of 134. What makes that extra sweet and special is we're a part of a zone. So you got club, you got district, you got zone. We're 17 in our district. There's 17 districts in our zone. And we probably, in the membership, kind of went around midway on there. We've been kind of inching up. And then the month of May came. And guess where 7,600 sits? Number 1. It has been so exciting. I talked to, between the various phone calls that I get, including Rick, I have to tease him. Great guy. So Tracy calls me every week to update me on information, and when he said, you gotta look at the report, and as a banker, it's just intuitive that I've gotta do numbers, but we want quality in this. We're not doing this just for namesake and numbers only, because the last thing we wanna see is what I call front end load, and then it all backs out. That is not our intent to do that. But we're very proud. That's a 6.2% growth in our membership this year, and the next district from us is out of Western South Carolina. So we're at 134 gain, they're at 107. So we do realize that over the next few weeks, clubs tend to clean their slates a little bit, but I feel confident that we can hit past that 100 number by the end of June. So thank you for being a part of that, not only the lunch club, but obviously the breakfast club that is sitting here today. Foundation. Giving Tuesday was back the first part of April. Give you some reference there. 4 years ago, this was a work of Chuck Arneson, who was the district governor for us a few years back, and our annual giving day that was selected yielded about $62,000 for us to support foundation. This year, $143,000. So in 4 years' time, more than doubled. And when we look at our goal for this year for annual giving, it represents about gives us about 96, almost 97% of our goal in April. So there's no doubt we can really reach this the end of June. So we're very excited. Now, for Petersburg, your club, so far through today, when I pulled the report, is about $4,200 in your annual giving and $480 in your Polio Plus. So thank you again. There's certainly opportunity between now and the end of June, because as a member of the district foundation, in the past, this was always a passion point for me, because I know this is a case where when we can front end load our contributions, then the opportunity for district grants comes on the backside, and this is where we really can make impact to our community. And I share a little bit on this because y'all were involved with this grant involving the Chesterfield Library, the literacy program, and Jessica Gonzalez, who works for the library system, was a part of the liaison work that was done between the clubs. And what is so interesting here is you never know what kind of impact it can make, because she's going to be the next president of the Chester Club. So just from the opportunity to do grant work there and connect with an organization, we ended up gaining a Rotarian who really is a delightful lady to get to know. If you'll recall last year, I talked about our global grant out in Chesapeake, and I bring this one up again because this one started 2+ years ago. And last August, I had the chance to go out to Chesapeake when they were doing a ribbon cutting for that event. And we're like one report away from finishing the completion of this project. But this one is a big milestone for us in the district because this is a global grant. This one is the first time that we've had a global grant in our backyard. A lot of times we support grant works on the global side elsewhere. So this one gets a lot of recognition for us, and the fact that this mobile unit that's being used to help support underserved communities when the hurricanes came through last fall, this thing was mobilized to go down into other parts of either Virginia or North Carolina to help support those groups. So here was an unexpected event that we didn't want to see happen, but the fact that this mobile unit was able to go and be a part of that makes our district super, super special. So on the youth side, we had RILA back in February, 75 delegates attended, and I got a chance to go on the first day, and then I had another event later that afternoon, so I went back on Sunday. If you've ever had, and I know you have ever been a part of being and seeing these kids get involved in this program, it really does your heart good. Would you agree, Ruth?
Very good.
Yes, and so on the first day, they learn each other, who they are, and they go through processes so that it leads into their opportunity to present on Sunday their project work, and they get graded on it. So I got to be a judge again this year for that, so 2 years in a row. And one of the things they focused on during this event was Susanna, who is Calvert, who is our chair for mental health of the district, was there to also talk with these students. And you could see in their presentations how they brought mental health into this process. And so it really was very meaningful. I gotta give a shout out, Lamar invited me to go to the event of the chamber here this past couple of days on a panel that was presenting for mental health. And it just clicks, you know, it just keeps you going to know that we've got a lot of work to do, and especially for the youth out there that need it quite the most. Interact, we actually have 36 active Interact clubs now. Granted, not all of them, some of them not as active as others, but this year has been also the year of new clubs, and I was at Petersburg breakfast because we were doing a formal high five for the newest one at Appomattox. We've got 5 new right now, but I know we've got a couple of them that are trying to stretch them into this year. But I want to talk about one in particular, is the one associated with Innsbruck. Back in the fall again, Raghavan, the president, wanted to induct a honorary member, and he is the CEO of this program called PAL. It's a Police Athletic League, and he wanted to do more work with Innsbruck. So Raghavan invited me to be a part of that induction for Kenneth Ragland, the CEO. And this is a little bit of a funny story, and I'm going to finish up, I swear. So I go and drive to the building that we're supposed to do this induction for. They were doing it off-site. And the closer I got to it, I went, I know this building, but why do I know it? I walk up the sidewalk, and I realized that the building where PAL meets was my elementary school 60 years ago. Okay, so do the math. So I milk and my lunch on a daily basis in that building. So it was a fascinating time to get to talk to them, the workers there that are part of this program. So one of the things we did afterwards, we talked about what about if we could create a community-based Interact Club. A lot of times it's a school to club. So in this case, these students are being served because they're in the underserved community. So they're not locked into just one, maybe potentially high school there in the area. So in this case, they talked about what about if. So Raghavan did the necessary homework, paperwork, submitted it, and we officially this year have our first Interact Club that's community-based. That is a part of that. And he is working on yet another Interact Club that he's trying to get pushed into the end of this year, so he's pretty excited about that. The last thing I'll talk about is Friendship Exchange. This is a program that we probably haven't done a whole lot about, but this year, the Warwick Club, they have a club in the UK by the name of Warwick. So they consider themselves sister clubs, and over the years, they've kind of done this kind of thing. But the club in Newport News decided they wanted to go visit physically the Warwick Club over in UK, and there's another club too. So they started getting their thoughts together, made travel arrangements, about 5 from the club, and I did some letters and sent some stuff, to kind of do some exchanges, that kind of thing. So they just got back from this 5-day trip, and the camaraderie and fellowship that occurred on this event was just so dramatic. They got to go to see where Shakespeare was born. They saw Pocahontas' statue. They got to visit a hospital that is not hospital in our terms, but what they do is the military that need a place to stay, they stay at this hospital. I mean, the list goes on about what they did while they were there. But what a wonderful way to exchange ideas and learn from each other over there. And I would hope that we could do more of these in the future. But yeah, who would have thought there was a Warwick somewhere else in the world?
I have a carrot cake for dessert.
So
You want to keep this?
July 12th
You
is
don't want to
our Awards and Change Your Leadership Day out in Colonial Heritage in Williamsburg. Please put that on your calendar so we can celebrate what you guys have been doing all year long. And we'll have our Change Your Leadership because I will bow out of this role, and then Pat will be in as your new district governor for the 25-26 year. So thank you for all that you've done and going to do to support our district and do good in the world. So that's it. Did I do you all right?
Someone's bring you a box for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's give Joy one more round of applause.
All right, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, thank you. So now we wanted to turn it over to you all and give members who feel comfortable sharing their Rotary story. All of us have come to Rotary in our own way and have had some really fulfilling moments. And so if you feel so inclined to share your Rotary story, we would love to hear it. While you all are thinking, I'm happy to kick us off if that's okay. All right, so I was a master's student at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, all the way on the other side. And I met this wonderful woman, her name was Salome Tashome. She turned out to be, I met her in the grocery store, and she had my sorority jacket on. And I said, oh wow, you're a Delta, that's great. Because there was not very many Deltas out there. And we were both in the same master's program. Then we became fast friends, and I grew up in Chicago. And so to fly from Pullman all the way to Chicago, my parents weren't having that. They said, stay and do your education and find a friend. And so that's what I did. So every holiday, I got to go back to Seattle, Washington with Salome. And little did I know, her father, Ezra Tashome, or as we like to call him, Papa Tashome, was a big deal in Rotary. He was president of the Seattle Rotary Club, and he had an ambulance in his backyard. And I said, Papa Tashome, why do you have this ambulance here? Oh, the Rotarians, we came together to get this ambulance, and we're going to donate it to Ethiopia so that we can do the polio vaccinations this summer. I said, well, how can I be down? And I said, this is unlike any service project I've ever seen. And he says, well, when you get settled in your career and you have money to pay your dues and to do the work, he says, join Rotary. So fast forward to, I don't know, I had to go to get my PhD. It was at least 10 years later. And I met a woman on campus, Muriel Hawkins, and she said, have you heard of Rotary? I said, have I heard of Rotary? I know people who deliver ambulances. And so she says, I'm gonna bring you into the Petersburg Club. And that was in 2018. And so I called Salome, I called Papa Tashome, and I said, I'm in Rotary. And then 2 years ago, I called him and I said, now I'm gonna be president of Rotary. And I actually met one of his really good friends at the President's Conference. So I owe a great deal to Mr. Tashome and Salome, and I am the daughter that joined Rotary, because Salome's still not in Rotary yet. So that's my Rotary story. I'm so delighted to do the work and be, in this community, and just thrilled to have been influenced by him to know that you can do service and have good friendships at the same time. So that's my Rotary story. So you all. So anyone, you don't have to, but come on, thank you.
I got a simple Rotary story.
You can put it in this bag.
Years ago, after I
You do
joined
the
Rotary,
service,
we had a member, Frank Myers. Yeah, and he showed up and did not know it was his day to do the program. So he got up there and winged it and showed us dance moves. And I remember him showing us how to do the lawnmower. I didn't know there was a dance. He was doing this up on this.
I never heard of that.
It was hilarious. Simple memory.
You need to see a demonstration of
Yes,
that.
yes.
I don't know if there really was a dance called the lawnmower, but he did it.
That's awesome.
Thank you, John. That's wonderful. Others? Go ahead, Craig.
So, almost 20 years ago, started in banking, Joyce can attest to this too. As a manager, the bank I was at made us join a club. And they kept coming to me and saying, so what club have you joined? What club have you joined? And I'm scratching my head as a new manager 20 years ago, and a retired bank employee happened to come into my branch and said, please come to our Rotary Club. It's meeting next week or so. I knew nothing about Rotary, but I knew the bank was forcing me. Now, in this day and age, I don't think managers or banks really force individuals, which they should, I think. But this 20 plus years has been more than just a club to me, that I had to join. It's, being a past president and being part of the Rotary, it's been very beneficial and very rewarding. And I'm so glad that individual had come to me almost 20 years ago and the bank itself to make me join a club that I truly enjoy and I'm passionate about now.
Thanks, Craig.
Well, I'll go. Thank you. So, I had heard of Rotary, but never been asked to join. Even in all my years of banking, and no one asked me. And so I didn't stick my neck out. I was busy raising children and doing the work of a mom and a wife and a bank employee. And so I moved to Petersburg, and I try to be outgoing and know everybody. But Rotary has given me an opportunity to know the community and know people in a way that just fills my heart with joy, honestly. Joy. It really is. But I was unloading groceries outside my house, and this gentleman here came up and asked my husband to join Rotary. And I thought, but I let it go. And so Bob joined Rotary and came home full of all the wonderful things Rotary was doing in Petersburg. Every single day he would come home, and I was looking down, and I said, I'm really excited for you. And he knew that I felt left out. And he said, come join. There's lots of people up there. You'll do it. And so my husband sponsored me to join Rotary, and I look around this room and I see people who care deeply about Petersburg, and I care about Petersburg, and I love all the things that you've done for our community, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be a part of Petersburg, and I'm grateful this guy kind of invited me to join. You did bring me brownies.
Yes, I love that.
That's my Rotary story.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Come on, thank you.
I'm not gonna get up and talk about 48 years of Rotary, but my family goes back almost 100 years of Rotary.
Wow.
My grandfather was president of this club, and I think 25, 26. 40 years later, my father was president of this club. In 64, 65, 40 years later, I was president of this club in 99, 2000.
Wow.
And so I'm still in it, it's 25 years later, so we got 100 years of Rotary in my family, and a million stories. I did a program here, and Crystal, you were here when I talked about my journey through Rotary. And I will be doing that program at the Breakfast Club there, since I'm a member there. I'll do the same story, I got a little to add to it. But when you put me on the list for next year having a program, that's what it'll be. But it's been a good run for our family, certainly. And my father got in Rotary in 1949. He was a Rotarian until he died in 2014. So that's over 60-some years. Now, I'm chasing him at 48, but I don't know about 60.
You got it.
We'll see. But
Thank you, Jimbo. Thank you. I remember that program. We had all kinds of great articles and artifacts, so they're in for a treat. Anyone else? Okay, come on, that's great, Cheryl. Cheryl's one of our newest members. Come on.
And I just wanted to say thank you for having me. Even though I may be almost 100 years old, I've only been a part of Rotary for a few weeks. And I had heard of Rotary, but I never knew that it was relevant to me or what my missions were. And a young business owner, Jaja Perrin, who owns the Madhouse, because I was kind of new to Petersburg, suggested the Rotary to join. And I said, oh, that sounds good. I'll get around to it. But it was not until I saw it on social media, on my page, and the wonderful things they were doing to support the ambulances here. So I came and checked it out, and I was just so surprised that they're so ethically conscious. I didn't know that. And patriotic. I appreciate that because we've gotten away from that. Just little nuances that I just didn't know was a part of Rotary, but I'm just so glad that I just came to see for myself. And anybody on social media that will see this video, check it out for yourself because it's wonderful. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl and Renata are our two newest members, so we want to just give them a special acknowledgement. Thank you. All right, well, if there's no one else, we will close out the meeting. You don't have to leave. We hope you stick around.
I'll share mine.
Oh, Wanda, yes, please.
My story is a little different. I was in High Point, North Carolina, and my daughter had joined Interact. And during that time, she was not privileged of having a driver's license. And so, I found out that, students who wanted to join the Interact Club were supposed to come home and, talk with their parents about being able to drive them at 7 o'clock every morning. They had to be there at 7 a.m. To be a breakfast buddy for, Gifford County Schools, for one of the elementary schools. So, my obedient daughter never came home and asked me about, being able to have her at Northwood Elementary School at 7 a.m. every Tuesday and Thursday morning. And so she came home and said, I'm part of the Interact Club, I have to be at Northwood at 7 a.m. And so I drove her to, be a breakfast buddy, and I had to wait in order to take her to school. So I would go in and I would, just volunteer during that time and help. And then, she would invite me to different activities that Rotary was having that she was volunteering for, and helping with service projects at that time. And so I was introduced to Rotary by my daughter.
Oh, I love that.
And that's how I became a Rotarian.
Wow.
I know we have some more stories. I didn't realize we hadn't had dessert yet, so I apologize. You gonna share? Please, thank you, thank you.
Pretty busy back here, but, I started out around 20 plus years ago, and it was sort of, I came into United Way, and there was a position at United Way that was a member of the club. So the person before me left the club, and George Estes came and invited me to the club. He says, you know, it is your obligation to come to Rotary. So I came under an obligation, and 20 plus years later, here I am. I've served president twice, you know, and it got in my blood. And just to be really honest, Polio Plus is my passion. So I've really pushed that as we've gone along. But Rotary is so unique, and it's, you know, I talk about it at church all the time, and got them to help out with our projects. So it was just really easy to say, why don't we make it official, and we'll be an impact club. And so that's how we got the impact club. And right now we have nine members in that. Most of them are working today, so they couldn't come. But I enjoy Rotary. It has its ups and downs as far as red tape and all this stuff, you know, and local at wherever. But Rotary is real, it's viable, and it's something that people should be involved with.
Thank you, Joy.
So as indicated, bankers tend to be in Rotary. But I was in banking for 40-some years, right? And I've been a Rotarian since 2007. So what happened? And I actually had a boss at one of the previous banks I worked at who was a Rotarian for the Midlothian Club, but never said anything about what this was. So when I joined Village Bank back in 2006, Tom Winfrey, President and CEO, is a Rotarian, happens to be in the same club I'm in. And he looked at me one day and he said, you know, I'm thinking Rotary is something you would enjoy. And so I volunteered for a project first. So I bring that up because sometimes that's a way, is come on along with me today, I'm gonna, and then we can work through that. So I worked on the project, and I went, oh my goodness. So I go to one of the meetings on Friday morning, and similarly, I walk into a room, I know the sheriff, and I know this person, and I know this superintendent, and you just start making instant connections. I went, well, why not? So it wasn't too long after that I joined. So it was 2007, the fall of 2007. And, you know, if it wasn't for Tom asking, It's one of my biggest regrets is someone didn't ask me earlier that I could have been a part of an organization that does so much in its local communities and worldwide, that I could have had that many more years to really build on. But it's been fascinating, and I've been able to work through all the positions in the club level and then, you know, up to the district level and where I am right now, and just the relationship building opportunities. When you get a chance to either go to a conference or to an international convention, it just opens your eyes up in just even a much larger way. So that's my story.
I'm gonna share for Bobby Joe. I know she won't say anything. Okay. Bobby Joe has been waiting on us, however long we've been here at the club. Just every time we're here and that she's here, unless she's sick or something, she has just taken care of us. She is an honorary member of our club. She's done such a good job, but I just want us to give her a round of applause. They tailored her to do our meeting today by herself. With all of the services that we've gotten, this is Bobby Joe today, and I want us to give her applause.
And I've lived in this community now for 81 years, and I've always been trying to do my best to make it a better place than when I came. But for 19 years, I was very active in an organization called JC's, which was a young men's organization when I first joined it. That was training the younger members of the community to become future leaders in the community. And I spent 19 years doing that. And after a period of years, you have to get out of JC's at age 35, which now they've increased to 41, but they didn't ask me to come back until I was already 41. So they kicked me out anyway. Jimbo would remember that. There's some other people here know that I've been involved in the community in various volunteer activities for a long time. Well, when I got out of the Air Force, my dad persuaded me to come back here and be involved in our family-owned business, and it gave me the opportunity to join the JCs and to further my commitment to the community. When we sold the business, I went to work for the State Housing Finance Agency in Richmond, Virginia Housing Development Authority, and I drove to Richmond every day. I didn't really have a chance to participate in a community that had an activity like Rotary that was providing services in the community. When I retired from there after 23 years, I came back, and during that time, we formed an organization called FOLAR, Friends of the Lower Appomattox River. And I was very involved with that organization. And one day I heard that the Rotary Club of Prince George and some of the Petersburg Rotary Clubs and Columbia Heights and Hopewell were doing a project down on the river to build a bathroom facility along a trail that FOLAR had created down there. And I said, well, let me go check out and see what they're doing. So I went down and I saw a bunch of guys there, some of them from this club, raking gravel and spreading gravel on the ground, and they had already put in this outdoor facility, which I thought was really neat. And about a week later, a guy named Kenny Pritchett nabbed me somewhere, I don't know where I was, and he said, I want you to come to this reception we're gonna have at the train station in Petersburg. And I said, well, what's it all about? And he says, well, I know you've heard of Rotary. I said, oh yeah. You know, I was involved in JC's. I didn't think any more about it right then, but I ended up going to it, and a guy named Bebo Pollard, who everybody in this club knows, and probably some others too, was our keynote speaker. And I kind of tied the two things together, building bathroom facilities and trails and all that kind of stuff. Maybe this was something that I ought to look into. So I did. I joined Rotary almost 10 years ago now, and have been real involved in it. I want to give Jimbo some good news today. I just talked to the Cordish Company, and they are going to be one of our key sponsors for the golf tournament. And the John Randolph Foundation is going to be a gold sponsor and put a team in. So I found both of those out today.
Great job.
So we're rolling on the railroad. But I want to tell you all something about a future project that nobody in our Rotary Club has said that they would accept as one of our projects for next year. Jimbo would remember, and I think Dr. Bigley would remember, and I'm not sure who else might remember, that Petersburg used to have an outdoor art show in Poplar Lawn Park. It was the second largest outdoor art show in the state of Virginia in the 1980s when I was a part of it. Only Virginia Beach, Richmond didn't even have an art show, but Virginia Beach did, and we had some 350 artists that used to come here. 2 years ago, somebody asked me why we didn't have an art show, and I said, I don't know, but you know, maybe it's a good idea. I just don't know who you're gonna get to chair it. We're gonna have a rebirth of the outdoor art show on September 27th. It's gonna be at Battersea. We're gonna have it outside. We're gonna have a minimum of, I hope a maximum of 100 artists. I'm already talking to a group, but I want that to be maybe a joint project of both Rotary clubs to make that a success like we have in the past. I'm not charging anybody to come this year as an artist, but I am looking for corporate sponsorship so that we could have purchase prize awards for these businesses to buy art. That's what made the old art show successful. We would raise $50,000 in purchase prize money from the major businesses in Petersburg. I will tell you, in 1982, there were 9 banks and savings and loans in downtown Petersburg. Does anybody know how many there are today? Exactly, there's 1. And so it's gonna be a challenge raising the money, but I think I've got some good news maybe in the future coming that will make it a success this year. So y'all think about that and maybe taking it on as a joint project that we can work together and bring something good back to Petersburg.
Thank you.
I choked on that damn iced tea before I was here. So I apologize.
Thank you.
I'm a little hoarse, but Ron, and I have to tell you all a secret. Rhonda's here because of me. Not because of not because of Rick asking, but I was working on the park project downtown, the entranceway park, and I needed some dirt. And they were building the multi-story parking deck by the bus station downtown. Y'all might remember that. So I knew they had a big pile of dirt out there. I pulled in the driveway, and there was a pickup truck there, a blue pickup truck, and there was a guy in it, and he looked official. So I knocked on his window. I said, "I'm Richard Taylor. Can I talk to you about your dirt?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "What's your name?" And he told me his name was Bob Baird. And I said, "Really?" I said, "Okay, well, I want that dirt for this park project we're working on. Do you think you could donate it?" And he said, "Not yet." And he said, "Do you live here?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, where do you live?" He says, "Well, we live in Waynesboro, but we're moving to, I forgot, we moved west in Richmond." Yeah. And I said, "Oh, good." He says, "Well, what's it like living in Petersburg?" I said, "Well, hey, look, there's some really good houses that are available on the market now. We've got really good restaurants here, blah, blah, blah." And 2 Saturdays later, he called me. He says, "Remember that restaurant you were telling me about? It happened to be Alexander's downtown." And I said, "Yeah." And my wife and I and my girls are going to probably be eating there this Saturday night. He says, "Well, we might see you there." I walk in the door on Saturday night, and there he and Rhonda sitting there. And that's how they ended up coming to Petersburg. They looked around and found a really nice house on Westover Avenue. There are almost 3 houses in a row now that have Rotarians in it. Rick and Lewis and Rhonda and Bob and Jennifer across the street.
A block over,
And Dr. Bigley's right there. So
Couple
that
houses down.
we could have a.
Rotary Row.
There you go.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, brother.